A quiet knock echoed through the cold forest as the cabin fire flickered, casting long shadows on the creek outside. A barefoot girl stood in the dark rain, trembling, clutching something she refused to show, and when the cowboy let her in, thinking it was only for safety, he realized her request carried a secret that could change both their lives. What was she really asking for, and why did she choose him? A thin trail of smoke curled from the chimney of the lone cabin, glowing in the dusk like a lantern in the wilderness. The creek beside it murmured softly over the stones, carrying the cold bite of nightfall. Inside, the cowboy was mending a torn saddle strap when a sharp knock broke the stillness. 3 fast taps, 1 slow, the kind that didn't come from a traveler by chance. He paused, listening. The wind rattled the shutters. Then another knock, quieter, almost afraid. When he opened the door, the stormlight revealed her. An Apache girl soaked to the skin, dress heavy with mud, her breath sharp and uneven. She held her arms tight around herself as if hiding something against her chest. Behind her, the forest seemed to lean closer, its darkness pushing her forward. "I only need 1 night," she whispered, voice trembling but steady. 1 night of shelter. Rain dripped from her braids, tracing thin paths down her cheeks. Her bare feet sank into the mud near the doorway. She didn't lift her head, didn't step inside. She waited, still as a deer, deciding whether the hunter meant harm. The cowboy glanced past her into the trees. No horse, no companion, no campfire smoke. She was alone, too alone for this part of the frontier. He stepped aside. She hesitated before slipping in, her shadow stretching long across the wooden floorboards as the fire warmed her skin. She stayed near the door, hands still clasped around that hidden object beneath her clothing. The cabin filled with the quiet drip of rain from her clothes. The cowboy offered a blanket. She took it, but not the seat he pointed to. Instead, she positioned herself by the window, staring out into the night, not with fear but expectation, as if someone might follow her. Only when the flames crackled brighter did he notice something. She wasn't shivering from cold. She was holding herself as if bracing for a decision she wasn't ready to speak aloud. And then, very softly, she said, "1 night, but I need more before sunrise." Her words hung heavy in the warm cabin air, too heavy for a simple request. Outside, the wind shifted, carrying a distant sound he couldn't quite place, a sound that made him wonder what, or who, she was running from. The cowboy added another log to the fire. Sparks rose, painting the cabin walls with brief flecks of gold. The Apache girl stayed near the window, wrapped in the blanket, her eyes fixed on the trees as if listening for footsteps only she could hear. The sound of the storm softened outside, but inside the cabin the tension only grew sharper. "Warm up?" the cowboy said quietly. "I'm fine," she answered. "You're soaked." "I've been colder." "That's not the point." She didn't move. He set a tin cup of hot water on the table. "Drink this, just a little." She didn't look away from the window. "Thank you," she murmured. But she didn't touch the cup. The fire popped. The shadows along the walls shifted. The cowboy noticed how she kept one hand close to her chest beneath the blanket, guarding something hidden. Not a weapon. Her posture was all wrong for that. Something else. Something she wasn't ready to show. He kept his voice steady. "You hurt?" "No. That true?" "Yes." "You sure?" I said yes. Her tone was sharp, but her shoulders were trembling, not from cold, but from fear she was struggling to hide. He stepped back, giving her space. "You can sit by the fire. I'm not asking much." She finally turned her head, meeting his eyes for the first time. "You don't know what you're asking," she said softly. The cowboy frowned. "It's shelter. A roof. That's all." "No. It's not all." Her words were tight, as though choosing them cost her strength. Outside, a gust of wind pushed against the cabin walls. The creek roared louder, fed by the rain. The cowboy pulled a chair closer to the fire and sat, not watching her too closely but not turning away either. "Why'd you come here?" he asked. She drew a slow breath. "Because you leave your lantern burning," she said. "That a problem? It means you're awake. You see things. Not always." "You saw me." Silence settled between them, warm and heavy. She took one step toward the fire, then stopped, fingers gripping the blanket's edge. "You ran from someone," he said. She flinched. "I didn't run." "You left in a hurry." "I left because I had to." "Someone following you?" "Not yet." The cowboy leaned forward. "What's that mean?" "It means they will." She glanced again toward the dark forest, and he followed her gaze. Nothing moved out there. No lantern, no horseman, no shadows breaking the line of the trees. Still, something felt wrong. The girl stepped closer to the fire at last, warming her hands. The flames revealed bruises along her forearms, fresh, dark, angry marks. She didn't hide them. "Who did that?" he asked. "It doesn't matter. It matters to me." "Why?" "You're in my cabin. I ought to know." "You don't owe me anything." "Not what I said." She lowered her head. "I don't want trouble to follow me here." "Trouble already found you," he said gently. She tightened the blanket around her shoulders, then slowly pulled her hidden hand free. She held a small cloth bundle, tied with rawhide. The shape was uneven and delicate. The cowboy straightened. "That yours?" "No." "You steal it?" "No." "Then what is it?" She hesitated. "A promise," she whispered. Before he could ask more, she tucked it back beneath the blanket, close to her heart. The cowboy stood and moved toward the door. He lifted the bar from its brackets and lowered it quietly, locking the cabin for the night. "You're safe here," he said. The girl stiffened at the word safe, as if she wasn't sure she believed such a thing existed anymore. "I don't stay for safety," she said. "Then why?" "I stay because I'm out of time." Her voice cracked for the first time. He stepped back toward the fire. "You can tell me." "I can't." "You should." "No." A long breath escaped her. "I only asked for one night," she added, "but I need more before dawn." "What more?" he asked. She looked at him then, not with fear, but with a quiet resolve that unsettled something deep inside him. "I need someone to stand at the door when they come." He blinked. "Who?" She swallowed hard. "The men who think they own me." The cowboy felt the old tension in his chest, the kind he'd hoped the mountains had washed away long ago. He'd lived through enough broken nights to recognize a storm when he saw one. "You expect them tonight?" "Yes." "How many?" "I don't know." "Armed?" "Yes." The fire crackled sharply. For a second, it sounded like distant gunshots. She stepped closer, voice barely above a whisper. "I can't face them alone." A low rumble echoed in the distance, deep, heavy, unfamiliar, not thunder, not wind. The cowboy froze. The girl's eyes widened. "That's them," she whispered. "They've started." The rumble rolled through the valley again, low, dragging, too steady to be thunder. The cowboy knew the sound. Wagons, heavy ones, maybe 2, maybe 3. Moving slow through soaked earth, wheels grinding in the mud. The Apache girl stepped back from the window, clutching the blanket around her shoulders. "They're closer," she whispered. He kept his voice calm. "You sure it's them?" "Yes." "How you know?" "I know their wheels." "That many?" "Enough." The cowboy crossed the room and checked the rifle leaning by the door. Full chamber. Clean barrel. But he didn't lift it yet. Weapons had a way of changing nights like this. Too fast, too soon. "You can still leave by the creek," he said quietly. Her jaw tightened. "No," she replied. "I don't run again." "You should." "I can't." "Why not?" "Because they chase what isn't theirs." She stared at the fire, eyes reflecting the amber glow. For the second time, he saw the bruises along her arms, the raw shame behind them, the unspoken history. He rubbed a hand across his jaw. "You want me to stand at the door?" "Yes." "You expect fight?" "Yes." He took a breath, steady and slow. "I'm one man," he said. "You're the one who opened the door," she whispered. Outside, the forest fell silent. No frogs, no creek birds, no wind in the branches. Silence like that had a weight, a warning. The girl's fingers trembled as she untied the rawhide bundle she'd been hiding. Inside lay a small carved token, Apache work, smooth edges, careful lines. a symbol etched deep into the grain. He stared at it. What's that for? A promise. You said that before. A man asks a promise of me. One I refuse. So they take you. Yes. What's the promise? She hesitated. My voice, she said. My future. My hands. Everything. He nodded once, slow. So you ran. But I left, walked, she corrected. Another rumble shook the ground. Closer now. Hooves mixed with the wheels. Men talking. The cowboy couldn't hear the words, but he could hear the tone. Confident. Angry. Sure of their claim. They're stopping, the girl whispered. He moved toward the window and peeked out. Lanterns glowed between the trees. 3, maybe 4. A wagon stood beyond the clearing, horses steaming in the cold night air. But something else caught his eye. They ain't coming to the door, he murmured. Her head snapped up. What do you mean? They're checking tracks first. For what? For signs you came willingly. Her breath hitched. I didn't. Tracks won't say that. She stepped away from the window, panic flickering. They'll lie, she said. Men like that usually do. He placed a hand on the table, firm, steady, and nodded to the chair beside the fire. Sit, he said. No. You're shaking. I must stay ready. You stay alive first. She stared at him, torn between pride and exhaustion. Slowly, she sat. The fire warmed her wet dress, steam rising from the threads. He poured hot water into a second cup and set it in front of her. Drink, he said. She hesitated, then lifted it with both hands. That small gesture, a girl finally drinking warm water, felt like the only quiet victory the night had given them. The voices outside grew louder. A man called out orders. Someone lit another lantern. Boots splashed in the mud as they circled the cabin. The cowboy stepped toward the door. Last chance, he said softly. If you want me to send them away. She stood. No. You sure? Yes. Then tell me what you need. Your voice. She answered. Your strength. What else? She swallowed hard. Your truth, she whispered. Before he could ask what that meant, a heavy fist slammed against the cabin door. Boom! The walls shook. The lantern rattled on its hook. Another pounding knock. Open up, a man shouted. We know she's there. The cowboy's jaw tightened. You stay back, he told her. I stand with you. No, behind the fire. I won't hide. You will tonight. She didn't move. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. Please. Something in the way he said it made her step behind the fire at last, hands shaking around the carved token. Boom! Another strike. Harder. The cowboy reached for the rifle. I don't want blood, he murmured. You won't spill it, she whispered back. You don't know that. I know this, she said. They came for me. They fear the truth. He looked over his shoulder. What truth? She met his eyes, firm, resolute. The truth I kept until tonight. Another knock thundered through the cabin. Open the door, the voice outside growled, or we break it. The cowboy positioned himself squarely in front of the door, boots planted, rifle held low. From behind him, the girl's voice rose, soft, steady, carrying a weight she'd been hiding since the moment she arrived. There is something else I must tell you, she said. He turned slightly. What is it? Her breath shook. If they take me, something far worse follows. The door shook again. The cowboy's grip tightened on the rifle as the door shuddered again under the force of another strike. Dust drifted from the rafters. Outside, boots sloshed through mud, men muttering threats just low enough to keep their intentions hidden. Behind the fire, the Apache girl stood rigid, fingers pressed to the carved token. Her breaths came slow and measured, like someone preparing herself for whatever fate walked toward the door. What follows? The cowboy asked, voice low but steady. She shook her head. I can't say it loud, she whispered. Say it anyway. They punish whole camps, she murmured, not just one girl. That's why you ran. Yes. And they want you back. No, she said. They want proof. His eyes narrowed. Proof of what? That I obey. Another blow slammed the door, this time with something heavy, a boot, a shoulder, maybe an axe. A voice barked, "Open now, last warning." The cowboy moved closer to the door. "You hear me?" he called back. Silence. Then, "Hand her over. We don't pick fights." He snorted. "You brought 3 wagons. Precaution. Looks like trouble. No trouble if she comes." Inside the cabin, the girl tensed. The cowboy turned slightly toward her. "You know these men?" "Yes." "They law?" "No." "They thieves?" "No." "Then what?" She lifted her head, eyes shining in the firelight. "They call themselves guardians." The cowboy's jaw clenched. "Guardians don't chase women through storms. They guard their pride," she said softly. Outside, the leader slammed the door again. Harder. "Open! We ain't waiting." The cowboy lowered the rifle but didn't raise it, not yet. "You ain't settling this," he murmured to the girl. "I must," she replied. "No. I must," she repeated. "You stay behind me. I'm tired of hiding." The fire crackled sharply. The girl stepped forward, but the cowboy blocked her with an arm. "You stay put," he ordered. Her voice trembled. "They'll burn the cabin. They'll try. They have men. So do I." She stared at him, shaken. "You're one." He nodded. "That's enough for a stand." Outside, the men whispered among themselves, boots scraping over wet ground. The cowboy heard the shift in their tone, less anger, more uncertainty. Men built on bluster often faltered when met with calm resistance. "Listen," he said quietly to the girl. "You trust me?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Yes." "Then don't move till I say." Her voice wavered. "Why do you help me?" He didn't answer at first. The firelight gleamed across his jaw, the lines of a man who'd seen enough nights like this, enough broken souls at his door. "Because you knocked," he said finally. A soft, aching silence fell between them. Then the men struck again, boom, splintering part of the frame. A thin crack appeared near the latch. The cowboy stepped right up to the door now. "You break that," he warned. "You don't walk away calm." One of the men shouted from the clearing. "She belongs with us. No one belongs to you," the cowboy shot back. The girl's breath caught. Outside there was a pause, the kind of pause men take before choosing violence over pride. A horse snorted, someone's boot slipped in mud. Then, "We're coming in." The cowboy lifted the rifle, not firing, not aiming, just letting the barrel be seen through the gap in the doorframe. "You try," he said. Murmurs outside. "That gun's loaded. It ain't worth it. She's just one girl. Boss wants her. Boss ain't here." The leader growled. "Move aside. Last chance." Inside, the girl stepped closer, ignoring his warning. "You don't have to fight," she said. "Too late for that. They'll hurt you. They hurt you first." Her eyes glistened. "That's different." "No," he said firmly. "A bruise is a bruise." He could see her fighting tears, fighting something deeper than fear. "You don't understand," she whispered. "Help me then," he said. "I can't." "You should. It's shame," she said quietly. "Old shame, heavy." The cowboy exhaled slowly. "Shame don't get to choose your life." Before she could answer, outside the men moved again, coordinated, fast. Something scraped against the cabin wall. A lantern's glow shifted. The cowboy's eyes narrowed. "They're spreading," he said. "What does that mean?" "They're flanking the windows." The girl's face drained of color. A shadow passed across the nearest window, slow, deliberate, unmistakably human. Then another shadow. Then a third. 3 men, 3 positions, 3 ways in. The cowboy's voice dropped to a whisper. "They ain't breaking the door," he said. "Then what?" the girl asked. He turned his head just enough to see her. "They're coming through the dark." The cowboy shifted his stance, rifle angled low, listening to the soft scrape of boots circling the cabin. The girl pressed herself closer to the firelight, fear tightening her breath. Outside, lanterns flickered against the trunks, throwing warped shapes across the glass panes. "They're testing the walls," the cowboy muttered. She swallowed. "They break windows now, if they don't fear the dark." "They don't?" "That's what worries me." A faint thud came from the rear wall. Then another, softer, measured, like someone tapping wood to find weak boards. "They're looking for the hollow spots," he whispered. The girl's grip tightened around the carved token held in her hands. "They want me fast," she said. "I see that. They don't ask twice. I see that too." The fire popped loudly, making both of them flinch. The cowboy stepped away from the door, scanning the room. "Stay in the light," he said. "Why?" "They can't see you clear." "I don't want them to." "That's the idea." The girl hesitated, then moved one step closer to the flames, her shadow stretching across the cabin floor. A quiet voice outside called, "She inside?" Another answered, "We saw tracks." A third added, "Tracks lead here." The cowboy stiffened. "They know," she whispered. "They suspect," he corrected. "They always know." A soft scraping sounded at the back window. The cowboy spun toward it, raising the rifle halfway. He saw fingers, just the tips, testing the sill. "Step back," he hissed. The girl stepped behind the table, heart pounding. Her breath grew shallow. A man's whisper drifted through the walls. "This one's loose. Push here." The cowboy's voice dropped low. "They're picking the smallest window." "They'll pull me through," she said. "No," he answered. "They won't." He crossed the cabin in 2 strides and grabbed the chair near the hearth. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Barricading." "They break it anyway." "Make 'em work for it." He jammed the chair under the window frame just as a fist slammed against the glass. Crack! The pane shook but didn't shatter. "They're trying soft first," he muttered. The girl pressed a hand to her mouth. "Why won't they speak to you?" she whispered. "They don't think they need to," he said. "Because I'm nothing. Because they're cowards." Another blow hit the glass, harder. A spiderweb crack spread across the center. "You hear me?" A man snarled outside. "She comes now." The cowboy stepped forward. "She's not yours. She belongs to us. No one belongs to you. Then we take her." A rock slammed into the glass. Crash. Shards scattered across the floor. Cold air rushed through the broken frame. The cowboy lifted the rifle but didn't fire. "Back from that window," he commanded. The girl ducked behind the table, eyes wide as a pair of hands reached in, dirty, strong, grabbing for the loose chair, trying to pull it aside. The cowboy slammed the rifle barrel against the wood, jamming it tight. "Try that again," he warned, voice ice cold. Outside, the men cursed. "He's blocking it." "Bring the rope! Use the hook!" The girl's voice trembled. "They'll drag me." "Not tonight." "They always drag me." He turned slightly. "You're safe here." "No," she said. "I'm hunted here." The cowboy's jaw hardened. "Listen," he said firmly. "Tell me what they want." "All of it." She hesitated. "No games now." He pushed. "Truth." She took a shaking breath. "They want me to return with silence," she whispered. "What silence?" "The kind that hides what they did." "What did they do?" Her voice broke. "They took my mother's land, burned our home, called it law, called it debt." The cowboy stared. "They hurt your camp." "Yes. And you." Her answer was barely sound. "Yes?" Rage flickered behind the cowboy's calm expression, but he didn't show it long. He stepped in front of her. "You told them no." "I said the land stays." "And they beat you?" "Yes." "They chase you?" "Yes." "And if you go back?" "They break more than land." He nodded, slow and steady, understanding now why she carried that carved token like a lifeline. Outside, men moved again. The crunch of snow, the clink of metal, the sound of something heavy scraping near the back. The cowboy froze. "They brought iron," he said. "What kind?" "Hook, probably chain." "For what?" "To yank boards loose." The girl turned pale. "They won't stop," she whispered. "They'll stop when I make 'em," he replied. A lantern glow appeared near the broken window. A face leaned in, wet hair, mean eyes, lips curled in triumph. "She's here," the man whispered to the others. "I see her shadow." The girl gasped and stumbled backward. The cowboy raised the rifle an inch. "Pull your head back," he warned. The man sneered. "You won't shoot. Try me. You ain't law. Neither are you." Boots splashed outside as 2 more men approached the window. "Lift the hook," one shouted. The cabin walls shook as something metallic scraped against the logs. The girl squeezed the token tight. "What do I do?" she whispered. The cowboy moved closer, voice steady as stone. "You get ready," he said. "For what?" He looked her straight in the eyes. "For whatever comes through that wall." The cowboy felt the cabin wall tremble as the iron hook scraped across the logs again, slow, deliberate, like a claw searching for a place to sink in. The Apache girl pressed back toward the firelight, clutching the carved token so tightly her knuckles whitened. Outside, men muttered orders, boots shifting in the mud. "They'll rip the wall," she whispered. "Not before I stop them," he answered. "They have numbers. They lack sense." Another scrape, louder, wood splintering just a little. The girl flinched. The cowboy steadied himself. "Listen close," he said. She nodded quickly. "You stay in light." "Yes. You don't run." "I won't." "You speak only if I tell you." "I understand." He lowered his rifle slightly, not to surrender, but to move with speed if needed. The men outside argued in hushed tones. "Pull harder! It'll break! Just need the corner loose. Hurry up!" The cowboy leaned toward the girl. "You ever seen them fight like this?" She shook her head. "No." "They hide anger behind smiles. That tracks. They act gentle in daylight, cruel at night. That tracks too." A sudden thunk echoed through the cabin as the hook caught a weaker plank. The girl gasped. "They found grip," she whispered. "Yeah." He moved to the back wall, placing one hand flat against the wood. It vibrated beneath his palm, shallow tremors growing deeper as the men prepared to pull. The girl's voice was barely breath. "What if they break through? We greet 'em fast. How? With fire and noise." She stared at him, confused. He stepped back, grabbed the heavy iron kettle hanging near the hearth, and tipped it. Boiling water hissed against the stone floor. She froze. "You throw it. If they force entry, won't that hurt them?" "That's the point." Her eyes softened. "You want no blood? I want less trouble. You can't avoid it." "I try." The wall groaned, long, low, and dangerous. Voices barked. "Pull! Pull hard! Now!" A violent jerk wrenched the wood. The cabin shook. A plank cracked near the corner, splitting just enough for cold air to rush through. The girl cried out softly. The cowboy pressed a hand to her shoulder. "Steady." She swallowed. "I'm scared." "I know." "You think we live?" "Yes." "You sure?" "No." Her breath caught, then steadied with effort. She stood straighter, chin lifted in stubborn dignity. "You opened the door to me," she whispered. "And I ain't closin' it," he replied. Outside, men grunted under the weight of another pull. Lantern light flashed through the widening crack. The cowboy leaned close to the girl again. "You told me they hunt whole camps." "Yes." "Why risk coming here alone?" "Because someone had to start truth." "You?" "Yes." "Why you?" "They break strongest girl first." He stared at her, quiet anger tightening his jaw. "You're not broken," he said. She blinked hard at that. A sharp snap echoed as the plank broke clear, leaving a ragged gap big enough for a man's arm. A hand shot through, reaching blindly. The girl stumbled backward. "No!" The cowboy slammed the kettle down beside him and grabbed the nearest fire poker. "Pull her!" a voice outside shouted. The hand clawed deeper, searching for cloth, hair, anything. The cowboy swung the poker hard, cracking it against the intruding wrist. A man howled. "She hit me! He broke your hand, fool! Get the rope!" "No, go around." Inside, the girl pressed her fists against her mouth, trembling. "You hurt him," she whispered. "He started it. They get angrier when hurt." "Good," the cowboy muttered. Boots shuffled outside as the men regrouped. "Beat the wall. Break the seams. Push together." The girl's breath quickened. "They come harder now." "Let 'em." The cowboy repositioned the poker, bracing himself. "They want easy. We give 'em hell instead." A long silence fell. Too long. Then, footsteps. Slow, heavy, purposeful. The girl stiffened. "That's him," she whispered. "Who?" "The one who leads. The one you ran from." Yes, the one who beat you. Yes. The footsteps reached the window, a lantern lifted just enough to outline a man's silhouette, broad shoulders, stiff posture, coat slick with rain. His voice was low, cruelly calm. "Girl," he called, "your time's done. Come out." The cowboy spoke before she could. "She's not coming anywhere." The lantern dipped, a mocking gesture. "You think you stand for her?" the man asked. "Yes." "You think you know her story?" "Enough." "No," the man said, "not enough." The girl flinched at the voice, old fear returning like a bruise pressed too hard. "Speak your truth, girl," the man ordered. "Tell him why you run." She shook her head violently. "No." "Tell him," the man repeated. "No." "Tell him," the man snarled. "What you stole." The cowboy froze. "Stole." The girl's face went white. She pressed the carved token to her chest. Her voice cracked. "I didn't steal it," she whispered. The man outside slammed his hand against the wall. "She carries something of ours," he shouted. "Something we'll kill for." The cowboy stepped between her and the broken wood. "What is it?" he asked quietly. "What are you holding?" Tears gathered in her eyes, fear, shame, memory, all mixed. She opened her hand. Inside the blanket, wrapped in rawhide, something glinted. Not wood, not a token, metal, and not ordinary metal. Sacred metal. She whispered, "I took the one thing they must never lose." The cowboy's breath caught. Outside, men readied themselves. A final order cut through the night. "Break the wall, now." The cowboy stared at the small wrapped object in the girl's palm, metal shimmering faintly beneath the rawhide, catching the fire's glow. Outside, boots shifted, ropes tightened, men braced themselves to tear through the wall. "What is it?" he whispered. The girl closed her fist tight. "A promise," she said. "That ain't enough. It's all I can say." "No," he replied, "not tonight." The wall rattled hard. Wood groaned. Dust fell from the rafters. She looked up at him, fear swimming behind her eyes. "They'll kill for it," she whispered. "I see that. They call it sacred. You call it stolen." "No," she said. "I call it saved." Another slam hit the cabin's back corner, deeper this time, structural. Something metal gouged into the logs. The cowboy pulled her behind him, but she shook her head. "You don't understand," she said. "Then make me understand." "I can't say it. You have to." "No," she insisted. "Not here." Not loud. Outside, a man shouted, "Lift it again." Another answered, "Break the seam." A third growled, "She's cornered. No run." The girl trembled but didn't back away. The cowboy lowered his voice. "You trust me?" She nodded once. "Then tell me straight." She hesitated. "I carry their shame." "How?" "The metal is proof." "Proof of what?" She swallowed hard. "That they lie when they call themselves guardians." The cowboy narrowed his eyes. Before he could speak, the wall shook violently as the hook tore deeper, snapping one of the crossbeams. Cold air shot through the widening gap. The girl gasped. "They'll take it back," she whispered. "They'll bury truth," he said. "Yes. Not tonight." He grabbed a second chair and wedged it against the weakened wall. "You can't hold that," she warned. "I can slow 'em. They'll bring axes. Then we hear 'em sooner." A harsh voice outside barked, "Push on my count." The cowboy counted their breaths. 1. A man said, 2. 3. A massive shove slammed the wall. The chairs groaned. The beam cracked, but the cabin held for now. The girl pressed the rawhide bundle to her chest, breath trembling. "Why, help me," she whispered. "Because you asked," he said. "No one helps me. I ain't no one." She blinked fast, fighting tears. From the window, a lantern rose again, lighting the mud-soaked faces of 2 men. One pointed at the weak spot. "There, that plank's going first. Hit it hard. Bring the iron." The cowboy raised the rifle. The girl grabbed his sleeve. "Don't shoot," she whispered. "They're coming in." "Yes." "But 1 shot calls 10 more. They already brought 10. Then 1 shot brings 20. He hesitated. She was right. A single gunshot could turn a nighttime assault into a full killing raid. "Then what's the play?" he asked. "Hold. Wait. Make them doubt. Doubt what? That you're the only one inside. The cowboy frowned. What's that mean? Men fear numbers, not walls. You want me to bluff? Yes. What do I say? Tell them you're not alone. The cowboy stared at her. You think they'll believe that? They believe lies easier than truth. He nodded once. He stepped toward the broken plank and shouted through it, You boys sure you want this house? Silence. Rain pattered. Horses snorted uneasily. Then the cowboy raised his voice deeper, rougher, projecting strength he didn't feel. Because I ain't the only one inside. Boots froze outside. Someone cursed. A man hissed. Who else is here? Another whispered. He got partners. A third muttered. Didn't see no tracks, and the cowboy didn't blink. You come through that wall, he said, and you meet all of us. The girl watched him, astonished at the lie spoken with the weight of a truth. Outside in uncertainty spread like cold wind. They bluffin'? Could be 5 in there. Could be none. Could be just him. Boss won't like guessing. The leader's voice rose, slow, angry, controlled. Girl, he called, you think extra guns save you? She didn't answer. Speak, he snarled. Say his number. The cowboy squeezed the rifle tighter. The girl stepped forward before he could stop her. Her voice trembled but carried weight. You fear what you can't count. The men outside muttered furiously. She speaks against us. She thinks we fear her. She forgets who owns her. The girl's voice rose, small but steady. No one owns me. Outside, the leader spat. She talks brave behind walls. The cowboy stepped beside her. She talks truth. A tense silence followed. Fire popped. Rain hissed. The weakened wall creaked. Then the leader spoke again, voice low and venomous. Walls break. A new sound followed. Metal scraping. Wood splitting. Something heavier than hooks. Axes. The girl's face drained of color. They brought cutters, she whispered. Yeah, the cowboy said quietly. They break the whole side. Looks that way. She pressed the metal object tighter against her chest. What happens now? She whispered. The cowboy listened to the axes rising, then falling, then biting deep. He didn't answer, because he knew the truth. The wall wasn't going to hold. The first axe blow landed with a deep, sickening thud. The cabin wall shivered. Dust dropped from the rafters in thin streams. The Apache girl flinched, hand flying to her mouth. The cowboy watched the logs tremble, counting the rhythm of each strike. Thud, thud, thud. They mean to open the side, he murmured. The girl pressed the metal bundle tight. They won't stop, she whispered. They might, he said. How? If they fear more than they want. She shook her head. They fear nothing. They fear exposure, he replied. Men like that always do. Outside, the leader's voice called over the chopping. Careful with that beam, we don't want the roof. A man laughed. We just want the girl. The leader's tone sharpened. And what she carries, don't forget that. The cowboy shot the girl a look. They keep mentioning what you hold, he said. Yes, that metal, not just metal, she cut in. What then? Authority, she whispered, stolen from those who truly had it. He frowned. You talking about a seal? Yes. A mark? Yes. From who? From the ones who wrote papers, she said. Papers that broke our land. She unwrapped the rawhide enough for him to see more clearly. It was a small round piece and heavy and stamped with an emblem. Hard lines, letters, an official crest. Not gold, not silver, but powerful in another way. They call it a badge of right, she said. I call it proof of theft. He stared at it. This, she continued, they show to white law. Say, see, we own this ground. The cowboy's jaw tightened. And you took it, he murmured. Yes. Why? So they can't waive it. So they can't cheat with it, he said. Yes. The axe struck again, deeper this time. A crack spread along one of the inside boards. The leader's voice drifted through. You stole our seal, girl, he called. You stole our lawful mark. The girl's eyes flashed. That mark was never lawful, she whispered. The cowboy moved closer to the cracked wall. You call that lawful? He shouted. The leader laughed. Paper says it is. Paper written after the fires, the cowboy shot back. Fires were justice, the leader replied. Debts must be paid. Whose debts? Her camps. They owed us. They owed your greed, the cowboy said. The chopping paused, just for a heartbeat. The leader's voice turned colder, more polite. This is between us and the girl, he said. Hand her out and we leave your little house standing. The cowboy felt the girl stiffen behind him. Don't listen, she whispered. Not planning to, he said. The leader continued in that slow, courteous tone that held more threat than any shouted curse. You keep her crimes, he said. You harbor theft of holy metal, theft of landmarks, theft of bread and credit. You stand against written word. You stand against order. The cowboy almost laughed at the word, order. Yes, the leader answered smoothly. We hold records. We hold seals. We hold promises broken by her people. You stand against all that. Your records were born in ash, the cowboy replied, in screams. Silence met that. Then the axes resumed. The cabin shook harder. A thin wedge of night appeared between two logs, letting in a strand of cold air. They'll argue law until the wall falls, the girl whispered. Yeah, he said. Words first, wood second. He glanced at her hands. You sure that piece proves them wrong? Yes. How? It carries the first mark, she said softly. The true one. He frowned. True? Before they changed it. Before they burned our home. This shows who the land was meant for. She closed her fingers again. They lost this when they raided First Camp, she said. Someone dropped it. My mother hid it, before they came again. The cowboy's chest ached at the quiet way she said it. And you carry it now, he murmured. Yes. Alone. Yes. So they can't pretend clean hands, he said. Yes. Another blow cracked the wall, opening a wider gap. Lantern light flickered through. A bit of straw fell from the roofline. The girl's voice shook. They'll tear all down, she whispered. Maybe not, he said. He looked at the window, then the door, then the roof. You still want truth seen? He asked. Yes. You willing to show that piece outside? Her eyes widened. They take it. Not if others see it first. What others? Law in town, he said. White law that writes papers. They don't listen to us. They might listen to proof. She stared at him, hope and doubt wrestling in her eyes. You think letters care? She asked. Sometimes they care who holds the seal, he replied. They care for coins. Maybe, he said. But coins fear scandal. Outside, one of the men stopped chopping and called to the leader. Boss, lights failin', we keep this up. Town sees smoke. The leader snapped back. Then finish before smoke rises. The girl caught that. They fear eyes, she whispered. Exactly, the cowboy said. A small, fragile victory flickered between them, thin as a candle in a storm. But there. He stepped closer to the door, raising his voice just enough. You keep yelling about seals and debts, he called. How you think that sounds if town hears? How you think sheriff likes nighttime raids over lawful matters? The chopping slowed. We're collectors, one man shouted. We're protectors, another added quickly. We guard what's owed, the leader snapped. The cowboy pressed harder. You guard it with axes in the dark, he said, with wagons hidden from town? A mutter rolled through the men. Someone cursed under breath. Law's on our side, the leader insisted. Bring law here then, the cowboy challenged. Bring badges, not hooks. Let them look at what she holds. The girl stiffened, clutching the seal. They take it, she whispered. Maybe, he said, but not quiet, not clean. Outside, one man said, He's right. Sheriff asks questions. Another grumbled, We got papers. The first answered, Papers don't like axes. The axes paused again. For the first time since the night began, the cowboy heard something new in their voices. Doubt. The girl drew a shaky breath. They're thinking, she whispered. Good, he said. Thinking men swing slower. He almost smiled. But then, a new sound rose behind the wagons. Not axes, not boots, hoofbeats, fast, urgent. From the direction of town, the leader cursed. Who's that? Someone shouted. Lanterns shifted wildly. Men turned toward the sound. The girl's eyes widened. You called no one, she whispered. The cowboy shook his head. No, he said quietly. I didn't. The hoofbeats grew louder, echoing through the wet trees, fast, sharp, coming straight toward the clearing. The cowboy stepped closer to the window, rifle still low, watching the men outside stiffen with sudden unease. The Apache girl clutched the seal tighter. "Is it the sheriff?" she whispered. "I don't know," he murmured. "They fear badges. Most bullies do." Outside, one of the men shouted, "Boss, someone's riding in!" Another hissed, "No light on him." A third muttered, "Could be a scout." The leader snapped, "Hold your places, don't show fear." But the cowboy heard the tremor in the man's voice, thin, forced. The horse burst into view near the tree line, its rider cloaked against the rain. Lantern light flickered off wet leather and mud-splattered boots as the horse slid to a stop. The girl stepped closer to the crack in the wall. "Who is it?" she whispered. "Hard to see," the cowboy said. "Light shows nothing." "Not with that hood." The leader stepped forward, voice tight. "You there. State your business." The rider didn't answer. Instead, he dismounted slowly, too slowly, boots sinking into the mud with deliberate weight. His silence made the men shift uneasily. The cowboy narrowed his eyes. "This ain't sheriff," he murmured. The girl's breath caught. "Then who?" "Not friend," he whispered. "Not foe yet." The rider finally lifted his head and spoke. "Storm's heavy tonight." The cowboy stiffened. That tone, calm, polite, edged like old iron. The leader barked, "Move along, private matter here." The rider ignored him. "A woman passed me on the trail," he said. "Small, Apache." Frightened, the girl froze. "He's lying," she whispered. "Or he's baiting," the cowboy said. The rider stepped closer to the men circling the cabin. "She said she was chased," he continued. "Said she carried something important." The leader's hand flew to his coat. "None of your affair." "I disagree," the rider said. The cowboy felt the shift in the air, too many lies, too much truth mixed in the wrong man's voice. "Girl," he whispered, "sit down." She shook her head. "I want to see him." "No," he warned. "Stay back." But she stepped to the side anyway, catching a clearer view through the broken plank. Her eyes widened. "I know him," she whispered. The cowboy tensed. "From where?" "From before," she said. "So before what?" "Before the raids." The rider turned his face slightly, just enough for lantern light to catch the scar across his cheek. One long, pale line that looked like it came from war, not accident. The girl whispered, "He came with them once." "You sure?" the cowboy asked. "Yes." "He their friend?" "No." "Enemy?" "No." "Then what?" She trembled. "Watcher." The cowboy didn't like the sound of that. Outside, the leader snapped, "You're trespassing, stranger." The rider didn't flinch. "If she's inside," the rider said quietly, "you should walk away." One of the men spat. "And you are?" "A man who knows truth when he hears it." "We hear no truth from her," the leader growled. "That's how liars talk," the rider said. The cowboy tensed. Instinct prickled hot along his spine. "Something's wrong," he whispered. The girl pressed closer, fear mixing with old memory. "He watches. He judges." "You think he helps them?" "No." "You think he helps us?" "No." "Then what?" "He helps no one," she whispered. "He helps himself." Outside, the men tightened formation, axes in hand, unsure whether to attack the cabin or the rider. The rider took another slow step forward, voice turning colder. "Show her," he said. "Show who?" the leader barked. "The girl," the rider replied. "Show her what you carry." The cowboy felt a slow dread creep through him. "What does he know?" he whispered. "All of it," the girl breathed. "He knows everything." The leader snarled. "We show nothing." "You show or bleed," the rider answered calmly. The cowboy stepped back from the wall, mind racing. "He threatens them," the girl whispered. "Or he threatens us," the cowboy said. "Why?" "No clue." The rider tilted his head toward the cabin. "Are you inside?" he called. "You hold something not yours." The cowboy's voice hardened. "She holds truth." "She holds trouble," the rider replied. The girl stepped forward. He heard her whisper, "I know his voice." The rider spoke again, louder this time. "You think that seal saves you? Think again. That peace brings hunters." The girl gasped. "No," she whispered. No, no. The cowboy grabbed her arm. What's he saying? He knows the next group, she said. What next group? The ones worse than these men. His jaw clenched. How many? Many, she said. Her voice cracked. Too many. Outside, the rider gave a slow, chilling warning. You have minutes. The leader snapped. Minutes for what? For them to reach this clearing, the rider answered. Who? The cowboy demanded. The rider's answer was simple, calm, and terrifying. The men who want the seal more than you. The cowboy's stomach dropped. The girl swayed, gripping the table. You said they stop, she whispered. I said these might stop, he replied. But more come, she breathed. Looks like it. Outside, one of the raiders shouted, Lights! I see lights! Where? Through the pines. More riders! Fast! Lanterns swayed wildly as the first group panicked. The rider mounted his horse again. Sayu inside, he said to the cowboy. Choose fast. The girl whispered, voice trembling. What do we do? The cowboy turned toward her, face pale, eyes hardening with grim resolve. We run, he said. Before she could answer, shouting exploded outside. They're here! Move! The second force burst from the tree line. The second force burst from the trees like a dark wave, lanterns bobbing, hooves thundering, men shouting orders the wind barely carried. The first group panicked instantly. One man dropped his axe. Another stumbled backward, yelling something about wrong deal and wrong night. The cowboy pulled the Apache girl toward him. Stay down, he murmured. She clutched the seal. Who are they? Don't know, he whispered. They want the metal. They must. Outside, the leader of the first group shouted frantically, Hold lines! Hold lines! But none listened. Fear spread too fast. The rider, the scarred watcher, backed his horse away, keeping distance from both sides. Who are they? The cowboy asked again under his breath. The girl's voice shook. The ones who buy land by force, she whispered. You sure? Yes. They worse. Yes. The cowboy's heart sank. The new riders fanned out across the clearing, surrounding the wagons, cutting off escape. Their leader, broad-shouldered, wearing a long coat heavy with rain, raised a lantern high. Step back from that cabin, he roared. All of you. The first group froze. Some put their hands up. Others clutched weapons tighter, unsure which choice offered survival. The girl trembled. They hunt with papers, she whispered. What papers? Signed by men in town. Legal. No, she said. But stamped. The cowboy muttered. So they got law's shadow. She nodded. A false shadow. The leader of the second group pointed at the cabin. She inside, he shouted. The leader of the first group hesitated. We don't know, he lied. You know, the second leader said. The cowboy felt the girl step closer behind him. What do they want from you? He whispered. Silence, she replied. They want that seal. Yes. Why them? They paid for it. You stole from them. No, she said fiercely. I stole from the ones who stole from us. Outside, the second leader barked. Bring the lanterns. Light the walls. Two men rushed forward, raising bright flames toward the cabin logs. The cowboy stiffened. What are they doing? Checking cracks, she whispered. For what? For shadows, she said. My shadow. One rider shouted. We see movement. She's inside. The girl gasped. The cowboy moved her deeper into the firelight. Don't stand near walls, he warned. They see us. Only if you cast long. A man from the second group called out, You in the cabin, step forward. The cowboy stayed silent. Another demanded, Hand over the seal. Still, he said nothing. Outside, the first group started backing away. This ain't our fight, one muttered. Let them take her, another said. They can have her, a third whispered. The girl flinched, wounded by the coldness. The cowboy shook his head. Don't listen. I know these words, she murmured. You don't deserve 'em. No one deserves truth, she said softly. Truth ain't crime. The second group advanced. You got 1 minute, the new leader warned. Or what? The cowboy shouted back. We cut the cabin apart, the man replied. With what? Oil and axes, the girl gasped. They burn, she whispered. They will, the cowboy said. Why? To flush you out. And you? To break me, she whispered. The cowboy scanned the room. Door blocked. Wall splitting. Window cracked. No good exit. Look at me, he said softly. She did. Her eyes were wide, scared, yet stubborn as stone. You ever run in darkness? He asked. Yes. You know the creek well. Yes. You swim? Yes. He nodded. Then we got chance. She swallowed. Where? Behind the cabin. Down the slope. It's steep. I know. Rocks cut feet. I know, he said. Water is cold. I know. She clutched the seal harder. He leaned close. You still want truth seen? Yes. You still want them stopped? Yes. Then hold on tight. Outside, the second group spread into a half circle, torches flaring high. Set front wall, their leader ordered. The first group scrambled aside. No! Don't burn us too. Move. Get away from flames. The watcher, the scarred rider, didn't leave. He stayed near a pine, silent, observing. The cowboy whispered to the girl, He ain't with them. He ain't with us, she replied. He won't block escape. No, she agreed. He watches. A torch touched the wall. The log hissed. Smoke curled. The girl whispered, It starts. Yeah, the cowboy murmured. Time's done. He grabbed her wrist. Go to back room, he ordered. Yes, stay low. Yes, don't make sound. I won't. They moved fast across the creaking boards. Outside, shouting rose, confusion, urgency, fire warning, orders mixing together. Bring more oil. Watch the rider. Don't let her slip out. Block the slope. The girl froze. They know the slope, she whispered. Not well enough, he said. They reached the back room, small, narrow, with a single shuttered opening near the floor. The cowboy knelt, pulling at the wooden slats. You fit through this. Yes. You sure? Yes. He forced the first slat free. You go first, he said. No, she whispered. They want me. That's why you go. What about you? I follow. They shoot. They miss in dark. She hesitated. You promise? Yes. Outside, the flames climbed the front wall. The wood crackled loud. Men shouted, Push forward, she's trapped. The girl crawled toward the opening. Hold the seal tight, he said. Yes. One last slat snapped free. Cold night air rushed in. The girl crawled out into the dark. The cowboy turned to follow. But before he could move, a shadow blocked the opening. A boot. A man crouched there. A whisper. Going somewhere. The cowboy froze as the boot blocked the small crawl space. The man crouched low, shoulders hunched, breath steaming in the cold night air. A torch glowed behind him, throwing long shadows through the broken slats. The man smirked. Thought you'd slip away. The cowboy tightened his grip on the floorboard. You picked wrong window. Boss wants you, the man said. He gets nothing. He gets what he paid for. The cowboy lunged forward, slamming the trapdoor frame upward. The man jerked back, losing balance for a heartbeat. Move! The cowboy barked. He crawled toward the opening, but the man shoved his arm back through, fingers grasping blindly for anything solid. The cowboy slammed his fist down on the wrist. The man howled, You bastard! You earned that, the cowboy said. The man yanked his hand back, shouting for help. Back room, he's here. Light that side. Block the slope. The cowboy crawled through the opening, boots scraping dirt. Rain hit his shoulders. Smoke drifted from the front of the cabin, orange flickers rising like ghosts behind the trees. He looked for her. The Apache girl crouched behind a fallen log, clutching the seal against her chest. Her breath trembled, but her eyes locked onto his immediately. You came, she whispered. Told you I would. They saw you. Yeah. She grabbed his sleeve. They follow. I know. Shouts rose behind them. Cut them off! Don't let them reach water! Fan out! More firelight spread across the clearing. Men rushed around the cabin, axes in hand, torches high. The second group, the paper men, moved with more discipline, more certainty. The cowboy pulled the girl low. Stay close, he murmured. Yes. Quiet. I try. They crouched and duck-walked along the slope. mud slick beneath their feet. The creek roared louder now, rain swelling the current. "You swim good," he whispered. "Yes." "You sure?" "Yes." "You can't lose that seal." "I won't." "You drop it." "I die," she said. "No," he corrected. "You fight harder." A torch swung toward them. A man shouted, "Movement! Down slope!" They darted behind a thick spruce trunk. The girl's breath hitched. "They know," she whispered. "They guess," the cowboy said. "Guess is enough. Not tonight." A rider from the second group spurred his horse toward the slope, lantern swinging wildly. "There! Get them! Block the creek!" The cowboy grabbed her wrist. "Run now," he ordered. They slid down the wet dirt, slipping and catching themselves, roots tearing at their hands. Branches whipped their arms. The creek roared into view, dark, cold, violent. She hesitated. "It's too fast." "It's freedom," he said. "It kills. It saves," he answered. Boots pounded above them. "Don't let them hit water. Cut them off. They're almost down." The cowboy pulled her close, whispering, "Hold your breath. Hold that seal. Let the water take us." She stared at the current. "It's too strong." "I'll stay with you," he said. "You promise?" "Yes." They stepped into the freezing water just as lanterns burst through the underbrush. "There!" a man shouted. "They're in the creek." The cowboy grabbed the girl's waist. "Jump with me," he said. "I'm scared." "I am too," he whispered. They leapt. The current seized them instantly, dragging them under, spinning them through the surge. The girl gasped as icy water filled her nose. The cowboy kept an arm around her, fighting to keep her above water. "Hold tight," he shouted. "I can't." "Yes, you can." They tumbled past rocks, slammed against the riverbed, shot forward again. Lanterns followed along the bank. "Get ropes! Don't let them drift! Block the bend!" The girl coughed hard, swallowing water. "I'll drown," she gasped. "Kick," he said. "I can't feel legs." "Kick anyway," she tried. Her feet scraped rocks. The current twisted her sideways. Her hand slipped. "Don't let go," the cowboy yelled. "I'm slipping. Hold me. I can't hold." Their fingers tore apart. She vanished under the churning black water. "No," he roared. He dove, arms sweeping through icy darkness. He felt nothing, then something soft, a braid, then her arm. He surged upward, dragging her with him. She coughed violently, eyes wide with panic. "I lost the seal," she choked. "You didn't," he said, gripping her hand. "I dropped it." "No," he said firmly. "You're still holding it." She looked down. It was still wrapped in her fist, miraculously unbroken. Behind them, the riders scrambled along the bank. "They're drifting past the bend." "Ride down river. Cut them off. Don't let the girl escape." The cowboy pulled her toward the opposite shore, fighting the current with every stroke. "We'll reach land," he gasped. "No rocks," she whispered. "There's sand ahead." "Too far," she said weakly. "You stay awake." "I'm trying." "Stay awake," he repeated. "Do not leave me now." They slammed into a sandbar. The cowboy dragged her ashore, collapsing on his elbows, chest heaving. The girl coughed so hard she shook. "We made it," he whispered. "They follow," she said. He looked up the slope. Lanterns moved fast, too fast. Hoofbeats thundered closer. "They crossed the creek," she whispered. "I know." The girl clutched the seal. "What do we do now?" she asked. He rose slowly, mud dripping from his coat. He scanned the darkness. He saw something worse. Torches, more riders, another force, coming from the opposite side of the river. The cowboy's voice dropped. "We're trapped," he said. The girl's breath froze. "By who?" she whispered. His answer was cold and hollow. "Everyone." The cowboy stood on the wet sand, chest heaving, eyes scanning both banks. Torches moved on one side of the creek, then the other. Hoofbeats echoed from every direction, folding into the roar of the swollen water. The Apache girl shivered beside him, clutching the seal so hard her fingers shook. "They box us in," she whispered. "Looks that way," he answered softly. "No trail, no path. There's always something." The torches on their original side spread along the bank, forming a loose line. Across the water, the new riders dismounted, leading their horses to higher ground, careful, Methodical. They think, the girl murmured. Smart wolves, stupid hearts, he said. One of the new men cupped his hands and shouted across the water. You there, on the sand. The cowboy didn't answer. Another voice followed, smoother and colder. How you hold what belongs to us, the man called. The seal. The girl flinched. They see it, she whispered. They saw the chase, he said. They saw my hands. They saw their fear, he corrected. A torch flared brighter on the high bank. The leader of the second group stepped closer, coat dripping, hat low. We don't want blood, he shouted. We want order. The girl's jaw clenched. Order burned our home, she whispered. The cowboy raised his voice. You call this order? He shouted back. Midnight raids. The leader replied calmly. We enforce written claims, he said. They signed. They owe. The girl shook her head. They never read, she murmured. I know, the cowboy said. On the opposite bank, the first group huddled together, trapped between fire and fear. They watched the new riders with resentment, but also with something like relief. If someone else carried blame, they could pretend clean hands. The leader of the first group shouted toward the new men. That girl stole from us. She stole from Lies, the cowboy shot back. The new leader ignored him. Listen careful, the man called. You hand us the object. You walk free. The girl's breath hitched. They lie, she whispered. Always, he said. He leaned closer. Tell me straight, if they take that seal, can they still cheat? Yes, she said. They show false paper. This mark hides what came first. So they bury it. Yes. And camps lose all, he said. All, she whispered. Another torch lit on the far side. Riders spread wider, flanking the creek bend. They weren't rushing now. They were closing the circle. Girl, the new leader called. You think you run forever? She pressed closer to the cowboy. They always talk like that, she whispered. Men who never ran, he said. The leader continued. You are one against many, he called. You hold a mark you do not understand. Hand it over. Let men of record handle such things. The girl shook her head sharply. They used record to erase us, she whispered. Then we put record on them, the cowboy said. She looked up, confused. How? By giving it to law in daylight, he answered. Law eats coins, she said. Law also eats scandal, he replied. Torches shifted. The scarred watcher appeared on the slope, his horse standing still. He hadn't joined either circle. He watched from above, eyes fixed on the sandbar. The girl saw him. He came again, she whispered. Yeah. He waits for choice. Maybe, the cowboy said. The new leader pointed toward the watcher. You there, he shouted up the slope. You saw nothing tonight. The watcher tilted his head. I saw enough, he said. The cowboy's voice dropped. He's our crack, he murmured. He's no friend, the girl said. He's not theirs either, the cowboy replied. He sells what he sees, she whispered. Then we give him something expensive, he said. Her eyes widened. Like what? Truth in front of a crowd, he said. The new leader called again, sounding annoyed. You on the sand. Decide. The cowboy straightened. What happens if we refuse? He asked. Then we cross, the leader replied. We take it by force. The girl's fingers shook around the seal. He turned to her. You can hide this, he said quietly. No. You can throw it. No. You can bury it. No. She looked him dead in the eye. If we bury it, they still write, she said. If they take it, they still write. If I keep it, maybe someone reads. He stared at her, thin, soaked, shaking, but harder than any log in his broken cabin. You ready to stand where they can see you? He asked. Town will laugh, she whispered. Some will, he said. Some will spit. Some will, he agreed. And some will listen, he said. The watcher shifted in his saddle, clearly catching every word. The cowboy glanced up at him. You, he shouted, you ride between town and fields, don't you? The watcher replied, calm. I ride where I'm paid. You paid yet? The cowboy called. Not enough, the watcher answered. The girl hissed softly. He wants coins, she whispered. We give him something heavier, the cowboy said. What? Story, he said. In daylight, with marks, torches flickered. The burning cabin hissed behind them, front wall glowing red, smoke thickening. The new leader shouted again. "This is foolish," he called. "Hand it over now. Last call." The cowboy took a slow breath. "Listen," he murmured to the girl. "You walk out with me. You hold that seal where all can see. We speak loud. So loud the watcher carries every word. So loud he trades gossip for his supper for years." "They still might shoot," she whispered. "They might," he said. "But if we crawl here till dawn, they burn us quiet." She closed her eyes. "I am tired of quiet," she whispered. He nodded. "So am I." Torches shifted closer. The circle tightened. "Your answer," the leader roared. The cowboy looked up at the watcher again. "You going to carry what you hear?" he shouted. "Depends what I hear," the watcher replied. The cowboy turned back to the girl. "You ready?" Her lips trembled. "No," she admitted. "Will you come anyway?" "Yes," she breathed. He squeezed her shoulder once. Steady, firm. Then he straightened and stepped forward, away from the shelter of the log, toward the open sand, where every torch could find him. The girl stepped beside him. She lifted the seal in her shaking hand. Lanterns swung toward the glint of metal. The new leader shouted, startled, "You dare show that here!" The cowboy's voice rose clear over the creek, over the fire, over the rain. "Then let everyone see what you're willing to kill for." Dozens of heads turned, and in that single, fragile breath of silence, every gun, every eye, every heart in that clearing shifted its aim. Every torch in the clearing lifted at once, their flames bowing in the wind like 100 judging eyes. The cowboy and the Apache girl stood shoulder to shoulder on the wet sand, the seal raised in her trembling fist. Men froze mid-step. Horses shifted uneasily. The swollen creek roared behind them. The new leader shouted first, "Put that down." The cowboy answered, "Then why chase it? It's ours." "It belonged before you," he said. The girl's voice shook but carried. "This was taken in fire," she said. Laughter rose from a few men. "Stories," one sneered. "Truth," she answered. The watcher, still on the slope, leaned forward in his saddle. "Speak clearer," he called. "What fire?" The girl swallowed hard. "They burned our home," she said. "Called it debt." Men in both groups stirred. The new leader spat. "They owed." "They never owed," the cowboy said. "You weren't there," the leader snapped. "I seen enough places burned," the cowboy replied. The watcher nodded faintly. "And that mark?" he asked. "What's first about it?" The girl lifted it higher. "The old crest," she said. "The one before they changed it." A murmur cut through the clearing. Someone whispered, "Old crest." Another said, "Law don't use that anymore." A third muttered, "Then their papers ain't clean." The new leader stiffened. "Shut your mouth," he barked, but doubt was already growing. The cowboy stepped forward. "You want quiet," he said. "We want order," the leader snapped. "You want her voice gone," the cowboy continued. "We want lies stopped," the leader insisted. The cowboy pointed at the burning cabin behind them. "Then why burn houses?" The leader froze. One of his own men muttered, "We didn't start that fire." Another whispered, "Someone lit it too fast." The leader snarled, "Silence!" But the watcher raised a hand. "Let her speak," he said. The girl's breath wavered. She looked at the cowboy. He nodded once. She stepped forward, mud on her dress, hair dripping river water, seal clutched like the last piece of her past. "My mother hid this," she said. "When the men came first." "Lies," the new leader growled. "No," she said softly. "They came with words, not guns, words that killed slower." The cowboy murmured, "Tell it straight," she continued. "They wrote papers, said the land was traded, said my father signed, but he never saw paper, never touched pen. They forged his mark." A ripple of shock moved through the men. The leader shouted, "Enough! She twists truth!" But the watcher leaned down. "Show the back," he said. The girl hesitated. "It's dangerous," she whispered. "Show it," the cowboy said. Hands trembling, she turned the seal over, a symbol carved deep, older, worn, untouched by their new papers. Gasps rose from several men. That's old law. That's tribal claim. That's from before county lines. The new leader's face twisted with fury. That peace is void. No, the girl whispered. It voids you. Noise erupted, men arguing, horses stomping, fear crackling like sparks off dry pine. The first group, the ones who chased her earlier, began backing away. We didn't know, one cried. We were told she stole, another said. We want no part, a third shouted. The new leader whipped around. Get back here, she lies. The cowboy stepped forward. You keep saying that, he said. Why? The leader growled. Because truth ruins things. Ruins what? The cowboy asked. The leader snapped. Ruins everything we built. Silence crashed over the clearing. The watcher cleared his throat. That, he said, is a confession. The new leader's hand flew to his holster. The cowboy reacted instantly, stepping in front of the girl. Stay behind me, he murmured. The girl clutched the seal tighter. You die for me, she whispered. Not tonight, he said. The leader stepped forward, voice shaking with rage. You think anyone believes her? The cowboy answered. Enough do. No, the leader snarled. Only one thing ends this. He raised his pistol. Dozens of torches swung toward him. Some men gasped, others froze. The watcher straightened in his saddle. The cowboy didn't move. The girl whispered, They shoot you. Maybe, he murmured. The leader aimed. You hand it over now, he said, or I end this trouble. The cowboy shifted his stance. She ain't trouble, he said. She's proof, the leader spat. And you're afraid, the cowboy answered. The leader's finger tightened on the trigger. The girl stepped forward against the cowboy's chest, holding the seal out so every torch lit its shining metal. Look, she cried. Put it down, the leader shouted. No, she said. Girl, the cowboy hissed. No, she repeated. Her voice rose, trembling but fierce. This seal belongs to my mother's blood. The leader fired, a flash, a crack, a scream, and the cowboy fell back into the sand. The girl screamed his name, even though you never gave her one. Every torch wavered. Every rider gasped. The leader lifted his smoking gun again, and the watcher finally moved. The clearing exploded the moment the cowboy fell. Torches jerked, horses reared, men shouted without knowing what side they stood on anymore. The Apache girl dropped to her knees beside him. Don't die, she whispered. He groaned softly. I'm here. You're bleeding. Seen worse. You saved me. Still trying, he breathed. The leader raised his gun again. Move from him, the man barked. She stood slowly, trembling, seal still in hand. No more, she said. The watcher's horse thundered down the slope. The rider charged straight at the leader. His voice cut through the chaos. Put the gun down. The leader spun toward him. You stay out, he snapped. The watcher didn't slow. I warned you, he said. They collided, horse and man, sending the leader sprawling across the mud. His gun flew into the creek. Men gasped. Some backed away. Others reached for rifles but hesitated, unsure whose rule still mattered. The watcher dismounted, boots sinking into the sand. He approached the girl, glancing at the seal in her hand. That piece, he said. You mean to use it? Her voice cracked. Yes. You understand danger? Yes. You understand power? No, she whispered. But I learn. He nodded once. The men behind him stirred uneasily. One shouted, She lies. Another cried, That mark means nothing. A third warned, Don't trust her. The watcher ignored them. He looked at the cowboy. You'll live, he said. The cowboy grunted. Thanks for the cheer. The girl knelt beside the cowboy again. You hold on, she whispered. I plan to, he muttered. You hurt. Enough. The watcher raised the seal for all to see. Torches reflected on the worn metal. Old law, old truth, something that had survived fire and greed and time. He lifted his voice. This settles nothing tonight, he said, but it opens questions. The new riders shifted uncomfortably. We answer nothing, one man shouted. You will, the watcher replied. Why would we? Because I'll bring this before town. The leader, still sprawled in the mud, coughed violently. "You betray us," he hissed. "I ride for coin," the watcher said, "but some coins come with curses. I avoid curses." Another man yelled, "She stole it!" The watcher shook his head. "She kept it alive," he said. "There's difference." The cowboy managed a faint smile. "She's stronger than any of you," he murmured. The girl touched his shoulder gently. "You saved my breath," she whispered. "You saved mine," he said. The watcher turned to the men. "Get your torches," he commanded. "Get your wagons. Leave here quiet." One man protested. "We can't." "You will," the watcher said. "Why listen to you?" "Because you fear scandal more than death." It worked. Men lowered weapons. Torches dimmed. Horses were gathered. The two groups, once enemies, now shared the same fear. Exposure. The watcher stepped back, motioning them to leave. One by one, they retreated into the trees, disappearing into the dark that first hid their crimes. When silence finally returned, the girl let out a shuddering breath. "It's over," she whispered. "For tonight," the cowboy said. "Tomorrow too. Can't promise that." She looked at the seal, wet from rain, mud, and her own shaking hands. "What do we do now?" she asked. The cowboy struggled to sit up. "We take this to daylight," he said. "They won't let us." "Let 'em try." She met his eyes. "You stand with me?" "I stand," he said, "even when I'm fallen." She smiled, small, tired, but real. He touched her hand, the one holding the seal. "That piece saved you," he said. "No," she whispered. "You did." He shook his head. "You saved truth." She looked toward the horizon, where faint gray hinted at morning. "Will they follow?" she asked. "Probably," he said. "You scared?" "A little. You run." "No," she nodded. "Then I walk beside you." The creek roared softer now. The fire at the cabin hissed into embers. The forest breathed again. He stood slowly, leaning on her arm. "We head to town," he said. "Yes. You ready for that?" "No," she whispered. "But I go." He gave a rough, tired smile. "Good. Let's give them something to talk about." Together they stepped forward, carrying the seal, carrying truth, carrying the weight of a night no one would forget, and the echo of a fight just beginning. If this story held you tight from the first moment to the final breath, don't let it end here. The West is full of hidden truths, forgotten voices, and battles fought in the shadows, stories waiting to be uncovered, just like this one. Your support keeps these tales alive. Hit like, leave a comment, and share this video with someone who loves gripping frontier drama. Want more stories of courage, justice, and unexpected bonds forged in fire? Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss the next chapter. Every view, every click, every share helps us bring more powerful tales to life. Saddle up. This journey is only getting started.